To one of the big stories coming out of yesterday's news cycle, the DA's Gauteng leader, John Moodey, announced yesterday that he's leaving the party after more than 2 decades. He says the DA is captured by Helen Zille, and he also says there is a purge underway with those who supported former leader Mmusi Maimane as the targets. Now, his resignation comes just a few days ahead of the DA's policy conference this weekend. Let's take a look. Here is Moodey speaking to our colleague Stephen Grootes just a few hours after announcing that decision.
Well, I will tell you that what has happened is that we have had the party completely and absolutely captured by Helen and her cronies. There is definitely a putsch. There is a purging happening of DA leadership who has supported Mmusi. And I'm made to feel very uncomfortable and not at home in the Democratic Alliance. So also the fact is that just as in the past, I've been informed that there are charges against me for standing up and supporting Mmusi during the time when they were purging him and attacking him. I'm also informed that there are further charges being brought against me. So these are tactics that have been used and are being used to undermine my campaign. In the first instance, to assassinate my character.
All right, for more on the story now, we're joined by the DA's Gauteng Chairperson, Moriarty, to unpack this story. Mike, good morning. Thanks for your time so early this morning on the AM report. I want to begin by reflecting on the statement that was issued yesterday in the wake of John Moodey's announcement, attributed in part to you as Gauteng Provincial Chairperson. One of the quotes in that statement saying, "It's very unfortunate that he," referring to Moodey, "plays the race card to justify his decision to avoid due process." And if one were to read that statement side by side with what John Moodey had to say yesterday, a man who had invested 22 years of his life in the DA, who seemed for the most part yesterday on the verge of tears, it does seem like a slap in the face that his experiences as a black leader in the DA have been reduced to him playing the race card.
Yeah, look, I've known John for many, many years, and I've known the kind of political career that he's had. He's actually done very well. But I think he's done so in a political environment where there's always contestation. And Michelle, I must tell you, some of those contestations can be quite bruising. And it did take its toll on the man. There's no question about it. He's conflated, unfortunately, the kind of political contestation takes place in any political environment with a whole narrative that he has chosen to put out, which is actually not true, and it's not borne out by the facts. He says that that people that supported Mmusi Maimane have been subjected to some kind of purge or persecution. It's not true. There's myself, there's Solim Samanga, and there's dozens of us that supported Mmusi Maimane. I'm not purged. I don't feel that I'm under threat. Neither is Solim Samanga. I mean, we just appointed him last night as the acting provincial leader. So the kind of case that John is putting together is very, very unfortunate. And unfortunately, also, it's not based on facts. And the worst thing about it, in my view, is that the DA stands the best chance of any political party to challenge the ANC for power and unseat the ANC. That's what we ought to be doing. That's what we ought to be focused on, all of us, John, myself, and anybody else in the DA. If we do that, we won't see any further repetitions of what happened yesterday.
So, Mike, it's very interesting to take a look at the black leaders who have left the party over the past months and the things that they've cited as their main reasons for that decision. Chief among those, and it's an issue that John Moodey himself came back to time and time again in his statement yesterday, is the leadership of your federal chairperson, Helen Zille. Is the DA's identity inextricably linked to someone like Helen Zille? And we'll talk about her tweets in a moment and whether you think that the party has dealt with her tweets in the right way. But let's talk about the DA's identity and how it is linked to your federal chair.
Well, it's definitely not the case. The fact is that the DA is in government all over the place. We have a government here in a place called Midvaal in Gauteng. We govern in various municipalities around the Western Cape. John Steenhuisen is very prominent in what he does. Our spokespersons are very prominent. Yeah, look, Helen Zille is a political force. She is somebody who speaks her mind and carries a whole lot of weight, but she is not the Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance is an entire entity. It's a diverse party, indeed the most diverse party in the entire country, and that is what the country needs. The country is a diverse country. It needs a diverse party to lead it, and we're committed to do that.
But, Mike, there are lots of, political forces in your party, including the likes of Mmusi Maimane, including the likes of Herman Mashaba and John Moodey. But is there a difference between who is allowed to speak their mind and who isn't? Would other people, other leaders in the party get away with comments or tweets like saying there have been more racist laws in South Africa now than compared to under apartheid?
All right, Michelle, you bring us to the other matter, and that is the so-called Helen Zille tweets. She is facing charges for those. It's a process that's in the midst of unfolding. As you know, there's charges that have to be put. There's responses that can be given by the other side, and ultimately a hearing. The kind of thing that John says that he was subjected to, we're subjecting Helen Zille to exactly the same thing. Interestingly enough, their cases were at the same stage in the process. There'd been an investigation. There'd been a determination that a case had to be answered. The FedEx made a decision in both cases that both of them had obviously different sets of charges to answer, and that there needed to be a hearing, and hearings were actually scheduled. It's a pity that John didn't take the time to follow all of the process through. He is innocent. Everybody in this party is innocent until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's yes?
Sorry, Mike, sorry to come in there. You and I both know that there are processes that can take that can take place. And these processes, you and I both know, can also be seen to be dealing with an issue in a way compared to whether it is actually dealing with that issue in the way it was meant to be dealt with, on paper at least. Mike, I want to talk to you about the issues around race in the DA, which surely you can't deny. There is something brewing in the party. It cannot be that someone invests 22 years of their political career in the DA and they now say that that party is different to the DA that they joined 22 years ago, and it is no longer their political home. What is the party's plan to deal with race and redress? It cannot be, surely, to just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, no, look, the party has decided to have conversations on race. I wish to say that they're at an advanced stage. They're not. And I think that the frustration for anybody, including myself, by the way, is that we haven't made a great headway. But, if John says it's different to where it was 22 years ago, 22 years ago, we hardly had any blacks in leadership. We hardly had any black people voting for us. Now we stand where over 400,000 people, black people, out of our 4 million supporters, would support the DA. That's more supporters than support the entire support of other so-called black parties, whether it be COPE and Achang and ATM and you name the whole list of them. So we are different. We do attract more black votes. And that's because we stand for freedom, fairness, and opportunity. And what we've done when we're in government has demonstrated that, and that it's been recognized. It is unfortunate that when people do leave a party, they choose to do so in a way that maximizes their own version of what they see as the truth and is divorced from the real evidence of what's in the party. I mean, there's no sense at this point in time that the party is in trouble. Our problem is that we've lost John Moodey. That's one thing that's happened. We move on from here, determined to unseat the ANC.
Mike Moriarty, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM report. And that, of course, as we continue to track the resignation of the DA's Gauteng leader, John Moodey. Very emotional, John Moodey, yesterday announcing that decision.